What you're looking at is not an optical illusion. It's claymation, a process born in Oregon. The father of claymation, Will Vinton, won an Oscar for his short subject, Closed Mondays, and has gone on to produce claymated commercials, music videos, and features. I spoke with Vinton recently in Portland.
Were you one of those kids that always played with the home 8mm movie camera and was making projects all the time?
Projects, yeah. A lot of projects when I was a kid, various kinds of things, and I am grateful to my parents for putting up with some of the things I used to get into, as a matter of fact. But I was never, my dad was a filmmaker of sorts, a hobby filmmaker, and had the equipment. I never really had much interest in film production until I actually went to college, and then became very, very interested in it, and took all of his equipment away from him, and he's never seen it since.
Why did you decide to work with clay rather than actors? Because it's easier to work with than an actor?
No, the whole claymation thing really evolved out of studying architecture in part in college, which I did, and film production. I worked in film production, live action production primarily, in commercial film for a number of years, 5, 6 years after college. And originally, the clay and the architecture sort of happened together. I was doing designing with clay in architecture, and the filmmaking and the clay got together and for some early experiments.
Do you really change the subject 24 times for every second of completed film?
Yeah, we do. Sometimes there are shortcuts to doing it every single frame. You can do every 2 frames if things don't move very quickly, or something. So there are little shortcuts like that, but primarily it's a matter of re-sculpting the figures and the work every frame to create the illusion of motion. The Return to Oz film that is currently being released was another opportunity for us to work in the feature film area in a different way, quite a different capacity than we ever had before. It allowed us for one thing, to be tied in with full live action, as perhaps you'll see.
Is that a first?
The category it's a first in is that there really has never been a film that I'm aware of that the major antagonist of the story was done in a stop-motion animation technique in a live-action picture. And we had a lot of critics early on, a lot of doubters, even from the studio and from some of the producers in the process. And I'm happy to say we made believers of them all in the process. We're very pleased that it turned out as well as it did. And I credit Walter Murch, who is the director of Return to Oz, as being our champion in that, and our good friend who pushed through the idea that claymation would work. And I feel like it's a breakthrough in some ways.
So you could say that this is your first time as a subcontractor.
That's right.
Was it difficult not to have final cut of a film?
Yes, it was. It was quite a different experience being a hired hand. Before myself and our entire staff, we had a great deal of freedom to do just exactly what we want. Myself as producer and director of most of the films that I've done, with primarily investor financing, gives us a lot of flexibility and a lot of freedom to pursue what we want to do. Working for Walt Disney Pictures and for Return to Oz and under Walter Murch as a director it was quite a different experience, quite a different process. And I wouldn't have enjoyed it nearly so much had it not been that Walter is just a wonderful person to work with. Brilliant man, really a very, very strong vision of what he wanted to do, and overall it was just a delight to work with him.
Return to Oz is now playing nationwide. Keeping an eye on the movies, I'm Corey Brunish.
They're gonna put me in the movies. They're gonna make a big star out of me. We'll make